So let's do problem 121, best time to buy and sell stock. So I came up with my own example for this one. So let's start with the first one. So 37619 is the number we have. So what we're going to do essentially is we're going to have the variable max profit, which we will return. And then we're going to have the minimum buy. Okay. They're both going to be integers. So I'm going to set minimum buy as to be the first element. So we're going to start iterating from the first element onwards. So the logic is as follows. So that's the minimum buy. If the element we're looking at is greater than the minimum buy, greater than, okay. So if the current element is greater than the minimum buy, we're going to say max profit is equal to current element minus minimum buy. But is that correct? Because so 7 minus 3 is equal to 4, so our max profit becomes 4. So if you use this logic, when we look at this, the next element, the max profit becomes 3. So our condition actually needs to change. So our condition should be if the current element minus the min value is greater than the max profit. So current element minus min buy, if they're greater than max profit, we're gonna assign a new max profit. Okay. Also, this specific condition also pretty much checks if the current element is greater than minimum buy, but we need to add another condition. So that's why I wrote down this. And then, but what happens if you look at this one? So this is smaller than the minimum buy. Well, actually, in this case, we're going to set minimum buy. So that's one condition, and there should be another condition. If minimum buy is greater than the current element, we're going to set the current element to be the minimum buy, right? The reason is, the smaller the minimum buy is, the more chances we have to make a greater profit, because there can be greater numbers. So in this case, there's a difference of 8. So our max profit, when we look at this element, max profit becomes 8. Okay. So let's have a look at this one. It's exactly the same, except we have 2 at the end. So up to this point, we're going to have max profit equals 4. And then when we look at this element, we have a minimum buy to be 1. And the max profit is still 4. But when we look at this element, we've seen that it is greater than minimum buy, but the difference between 2 and 1 is still smaller than the max profit. So our max profit remains 4. And then when we look at this example 1, minimum buy will be 7, and then we're going to have max profit to be initially 0, and minimum buy to be the first element. So minimum buy, maximum profit is 0 because all of them are smaller than the minimum buy. Max profit isn't updated at all, so that's why we get max profit to be 0. Right, and so let's write down the code. So we need 2 variables, int max profit equals 0, and int min buy equals the first element. And then we're gonna loop around with I equals 1, and the I is less than twice is the length, and I plus plus here we're gonna check two things. The order doesn't really matter, but if I'm gonna start with the if min by is greater than current element, min by becomes the current element. Else if current element minus min by is greater than max profit, we're gonna set max profit is current element minus min by. So this checks if so this one is when price is smaller than min by, and this is when price is greater than min by. And at the end of for loop, we're going to return max profit. Let's run the test. It's passed. Good result.